everyone, and welcome from all of us at the ArtUp Nation and our partners at ArtUp Domains. Thank you for joining the launch meetup for our ArtUp Escalator program. To those of you who are here with us at Zoom, and to those of you who are watching us live, if you are here after just a sec, someone needs to unmute himself, so I will do it. I'm sorry. Okay. So if you are here after watching our promo video, it means that you're curious enough and hopefully identify with our call to reinvent innovation, to disrupt disruption, and to subvert the market. If you picked up on the build-up we did towards this evening, it means, we are looking for those who are willing to become the thing they hate. So what is this thing? And what do we want from you? What are we talking about when we say ArtUp? What is the global importance of the ArtUp movement? And what exactly is our ArtUp Escalator program? This evening, before we release our open call for the ArtUp Escalator, we want to make all of this a bit clearer. Our members will answer these questions, and you'll have the chance to ask questions at the end. While in the meantime, feel free to comment and ask questions in the chat or at the live stream comment in the video on Facebook. First, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Carmel Barnea Bresner-Jonas. I'm an ArtUp Nation's Chief Performance Artist. I'm an artist, curator, and the co-founder of Desperately Seeking Community and Climont Video Collection. I will be the host of this launch meetup, and joining me in my moderation is Yoav Lifshitz. Yoav is ArtUp Nation's Chief Strategy Artist. Yoav, can you maybe wave for everyone to see you? So Yoav, he's an artivist. That is, he mixes art and digital right activism. And this evening, Yoav will serve as what in sports is called a color commentator. In other words, he will chime in with his insights in the in-betweens. He will also be moderating the online chat I've mentioned earlier. And our main speakers for this evening are the rest of the ArtUp Nation's core members. Tzila Hassin, can you maybe wave for everyone to see you? I recommend you all to watch us in the gallery view. Goza Gongu, and Gabriel S. Moses. We will start with you, Tzila, but first allow me to briefly introduce you. Tzila Hassin is ArtUp Nation's Chief Industry Artist. Tzila is an artist and researcher and founder and CEO of the ArtUp Schmugel. So, Tzila, first, yeah, I see you muted yourself, great. Maybe you can start by explaining to us what exactly is an ArtUp.
Hi, everybody. Super exciting that you're all here. It's been a pretty intense month of setting up and building up and theoretizing and building the program. And we really hope to come across as clear as possible and explain to you how we prepared for the following months. And yeah, I'm the ArtUp Nation's CIA. It was always my dream to become part of the CIA. So here I am itself. ArtUp is, in the simplest way, an ArtUp is an artist-run startup, but it goes way broader and way deeper than that. An ArtUp is an idea. An ArtUp is an artwork that is making its way into the market. An ArtUp is an idea that leaves the museum and goes to meet the audience outside of the museum, seeking new forms of engagement, trying to place itself in the as a reality, as part of the socio-economic reality. An ArtUp can go in several different directions and can be technological. It can also be non-technological. It can seek an exit or not seek an exit. But an ArtUp is mainly a way out of the museum and a way to place us artists in the socio-economic reality, in the realm of, let's say, Silicon Valley, and maybe also propose new ways of action and new ways of technological culture. Carmel, you're muted.
Thank you. Tina, are there any other examples you can share with us, maybe something that inspired you?
Yeah, sure, but maybe it would be better to go back a bit in the history of how this term came along before, because the inspirations were part of this transformation. So basically, ArtUp was something that the term, the concept, the idea that there is such a thing, there could be such a thing as an ArtUp, started with Shmoogle. I think some of you are already familiar with that. Shmoogle is a search engine that started as an artistic project, an artistic comment on Google culture and Google reality. And what it does, Shmoogle, is it presents Google's results or search engine results in random order. So this started it already in 2005, and it was an artistic project. And for a while, several years, it was being exhibited in museums, galleries, all kinds of art venues. Until it was no longer possible for me to maintain it myself because of code, because of security, because of a plethora of reasons that Google will not let people do whatever they want with their results. I had to shut it down. And then I think it was around 2017, I got some budget to resurrect it. And then I discovered that the pirate hacks I was using could no longer be implemented, and I had to go legit. What does it mean? It means I have to buy results from Google. And this idea infuriated me. Why do I have to pay Google in order to be able to see the world, the real world, outside of the Google glasses, Google goggles? And then I started thinking, maybe it was time for Shmoogle, maybe the museum was no longer the right place for such an action, for such an intervention. Maybe if Shmoogle wants to raise a real debate, maybe it has to leave the confines of the museums. And then we started thinking, what kind of intervention, what way was there for Shmoogle to leave the museums? And then we were inspired by several predecessors, proto-ArtUps. Well, and of course, there are the yes men who are doing an impersonation of, let's say, institutional critique or corporation aesthetics. Well, I think most of us are familiar with the yes men's interventions. And there were also Uber Morgan, who set up a network of sites, clicking on each other's advertisement, generating revenues out of this simple hack of Google AdWords, Google ad system. I think they generated a pretty nice amount of money. Later came there's also the Pen Collective, who are into impersonation. And as of recent, there's this very interesting project by Christopher Coulant Thomas called New Elam, who is also working as a startup. It's a subscription-based platform for, maybe you can call it millennial nomadism, where people subscribe. It was like housing service and just start moving around from apartment to apartment on the service, and it is registered as a company. And there are several other options. And then we decided that, okay, all these attempts were good, but we need to take it one step further. Maybe we need to cross the Rubicon. We need to become the real thing itself. Or as we were putting on our Facebook page, we need to become the thing we hate. And then Shmoogle became a real startup, striving for an exit, going through all the transformation that a company that something materialized from idea to startup has to go through, taking into account all the questions, marketing, branding, metrics, business plan, of course, etc., etc. But for a product that used to be an artwork, it remains the same thing, but it's now a product. So that was the brief history and what led us to this concept of ArtUp based on Shmugel's journey.
What did Shmugel have to do in order to transform from the artwork to an ArtUp exactly?
So that's actually the $1 million question. Shmugel has to face several, even intellectual and artistic challenges in that sense, because Shmugel has to rethink itself, reposition itself. Shmugel has to ask itself, what is my use value for the user? So it's the philosophical idea of seeing the world as it is no longer enough. We need to see what does it give the user. So let's say we have to find use cases in tourism, in shopping, in education. Finding these use cases, that was the first challenge. And then as the next challenges came along, you have to think metrics. How do you measure the success of Shmugel, the product? How do you brand it? How do you market it? What kind of business plan? Because the fact that Shmugel used to be an artwork is impacting its whole, let's say, evolution. We want to work differently with people. We want to brand ourselves differently. So every step in the way is a double challenge, both from the industry aspect and also from the art aspect. So this is exactly what we are, let's say, opening up in the Escalator program. We're opening up these challenges. We're opening up this journey, this possibility of transformation and of repositioning artworks as market products, but still maintaining their artwork character. And as Shmugel gathered experience and knowledge along the way, these are the tools we want to bring in, and this is the kind of reflection we want to bring in, both from the artistic part and from the, let's say, industry part. We want to make to impact both sides of the spectrum.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Tzila. And I see there are no comments or questions in the chat yet, so maybe I will follow up on your.
There's one question here, I see.
Yeah, but maybe write it in the chat, because later on in the end we will open up the discussion for everyone.
Yeah, so maybe to follow up on the question on what exactly is art in ArtUp, and please notice the double meaning in our domain's name, suggesting or toying with the idea that we make money art, as in money can be an art object and not just a financial tool. But if money is the art object, then what is our artistic category or the discipline of the ArtUp? And the immediate answer may be new media art, because we are dealing with arts, technology, and so on. But I propose to think of it as new market art, because the market is the medium we are referring to. And Silicon Valley prophets love to talk about new market opportunities, but maybe the artistic response to treat these markets is as an artistic playground, rather than just a critical voice from the outside, like what artists usually do.
Thank you, Yoav. Do you have anything else to say, or can I present our next speaker?
Go on.
All right. So next we have Gozde Gongo. Gozde is an artistic researcher, filmmaker, and self-documentarist. I'm sorry, I'm a bit dyslexic. She's also ArtUp Nation's Miss Chief of Ethics. Gozde, you unmuted yourself, so go ahead.
Yes, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us. I'm the Miss Chief of Ethics of this group. I'm happy to be here. I will talk a bit about why the ArtUp movement is and actually should in fact be an international movement, and why we need to do this movement right now. In a world that is so much synchronized economically, culturally, and socially, we cannot anymore speak of a local. I mean, maybe we could, but the old local is gone. Now the whole world is our local. We are now more connected than ever, and movement together isn't anymore optional, but rather an imperative if you want to have a broader and a more persistent change. I say this is the time to push together and push from all sides. So, I'm an artistic researcher based in Berlin. I know a lot of artists, researchers, creatives who struggle with similar issues. Most of them, I mean, most of us don't know how to continue creating while, well, basically surviving. Us do not feel like we have access, nor can we find the appropriate platform for our practices. People go to these cities now, Berlin, London, or New York City, all these like creative hubs to search for ways of existing while creating. Well, we can see that startupism as an alternative or somehow has become an alternative for creatives in the market. For artists that do not know where to exercise or practice their skills, or artists that felt like what they're aiming at was something outside of the confinements of the gallery, were looking for some kind of exit. Galleries couldn't figure out how to respond to this demand. And in the meantime, the market was looking to update itself. Companies, entrepreneurs felt the need to package their products nicely because the consumer was already saturated with the quality product. Like I said, as precarious creators, we all experience similar economical struggles and structural ties. And these ties actually channel and drive our imagination in a politically safe manner. What do I mean by that? We, these creators, are fighting for anything permanent right now. Even before COVID, we were always searching for something safe. I mean, gig-based practices were always like this, but the crisis has amplified the fragility of the situation, basically. There's not enough cake for everybody, and solidarity, that is in fact inherent in the field, isn't quite manifested. If we don't find a way to secure our livelihood in a startup or business realm, we are at the mercy of public or private fundings. And this is exactly where it happens. Investors aren't funding projects that do not create value that they value. The research subject needs to receive a market response for it to be eligible for funding. It needs to be trending. With a small number of exceptions, this is the case globally. Our program, the ArtUp Escalator here, actually gives an alternative. It's an option. In a market that is intertwined with one another and different discourses, the ArtUp Escalator makes room for creatives to reflect while not being excluded from the market. It is an artistic way of reflecting on the connectedness of the market while teaching you how to be in it. Escalator, in that sense, connects the market with and to the artworks very organically by contextualizing the ideas in their starting point. This is a global call to arms to reclaim the occupied space and resources in the market from the boring entrepreneur worldwide. And to sum it up, and like I said in the beginning, this is the time to push back, to figure out the inner workings of the market and open up space for ourselves. Thank you.
Okay, I see there are still no questions in chat. Let's hope we have some later. But I was watching TV a few days ago, and an economist was telling theater actors that maybe nowadays they should have occupational training and become, as she put it, actors in new media. And if not, maybe they can go work in a farm. And this proposal is, of course, nothing new. Policymakers have been offering it for years. They don't think out of their own regular boxes in these times. So this is what they are telling the precariat to do. So this is a proof that the current crisis is a crisis maybe of theory and the ideology. But then again, why shouldn't we accept the challenges that they put to us and think outside of our own boxes. That is the outside of the gallery. And our claim is that artists, proletariat, should be up to the challenge, but only in our own artistic terms. And maybe this is the time to finally learn more about the program, which can be viewed as a occupational training for unemployed artists. Yes, come on.
Yeah, I was just laughing regarding your last comment. So thank you again, Yoav. And our final speaker this evening is Gabriel S. Moses, ArtUp Nation's Chief Creative for Content Development, Derailing, and Deflection. Gabriel is a digital media and performance-based artist. He is currently pursuing his PhD in artistic research at the Bauhaus University in Weimar. This evening, he will present us with an in-depth look into the ArtUp Escalator program and its goals. So, Gabriel, can you maybe start by telling us what an ArtUp Escalator actually is? I mean, you know, it's not something you can just make out from the name.
Right. So, hello, everybody. Yeah, the name Escalator. It's indeed quite a play on words. The fundamental concept of an ArtUp Escalator references and hints at the traditional model of a startup accelerator. Today, this is one of the cornerstones, I would say, of the high-tech industry. An ArtUp Escalator is a curriculum, just like an accelerator. It's a study program curated for what we call the artist of the crisis era. The goal of the escalator is to teach others how to conceive their own ArtUps, to understand together how these ArtUps can and should develop in relation to various markets and discourses. The overall structural principle is the same as that of an accelerator. You have selected projects which will be offered a condensed, intensive international program with an innovative mentor-based curriculum. The core of the program will span over 6 weeks. In each week, we will hold 2 sessions. So altogether, 12 sessions. And they will run from morning to afternoon hours. In them, we have the regular industry mentorship, but also an art-related group of mentors. We teach both standard methods and then suggest an artistic take on them.
Gabriel, would you say there is a conceptual difference between an accelerator that is meant to accelerate and an escalator that is meant to escalate?
Definitely, definitely. We're not just interested in speeding up projects like an accelerator would do. By escalating, we mean exactly that. We want our projects to grow fast and hopefully spin out of control. Eventually, this is what neoliberalism does anyways, without admitting to it. It spins the market out of control. It pushes it beyond any reasonable boundaries. So why should everyone else, except for artists, get to have all the fun? As artists, we want in. We can do it cooler, weirder, and we argue better. Yeah?
Well, but whose control will art spin out of? The control of the art world or the market? And which market will ArtUps run free in the free market? I mean, not just the art market?
I guess out of control means completely out. So we'll be pushing the limits in all directions. Yeah.
Okay. I guess the follow-up question would be then, how do you do that? But maybe you could answer by telling us a little bit what the program covers.
Yeah, sure. Of course. This is what I'm here for. So like I said, we will be dividing the program into 6 weeks, each with a different focus. In the first week, we will get acquainted with some principal examples of ArtUps that already exist today, some of which Sila has already mentioned. Then we will move on to the second week, and there we will expand the view to the broader territory of the ArtUp after we got to know what an ArtUp actually is and what the potential is. So we will be looking at what you could call the playground of the ArtUp. And by that, we mean the market, and how the market is redefined by our mantra, which you saw on the screen when we just started. The medium is the message, is the market. So we'll first understand the principles of various markets, their rules of engagement, so to speak, and then will come the fun part of thinking how to break these rules.
When you say how to break the rules, do you
Yes.
mean that the program offers tools for this?
Definitely, definitely. For instance, in the third week, which we call Reclaiming Disruption, we will look at the market strategy of disruption. Now, today, disruption is a common practice. If you think about companies like Airbnb, Fiverr, Uber, or like various low costs that cut corners to supposedly rebuild things in a more clever way, which usually makes things a lot worse. Now, disruption used to be first and foremost an artistic practice. For instance, the avant-garde notion of breaking with tradition. So could art react to this harmful business disruption with a constructive artistic disruption? Or would it just be more of the same market disruption all over? Now, we believe that this depends on what you're trying to get out of it and on your approach and your perspective. Then in the weeks to come, the fourth week, which is titled The Stuff Nightmares Are Made Of. That week will focus on branding, marketing, and user interfaces. For instance, think of a viral campaign like Fire Festival. I don't know if you all remember this. It was very popular a year ago. There was also a Netflix film. That was the festival that promised to be a retreat on a luxurious island and ended up with a bunch of millennials stranded in tents. Nevertheless, the campaign, it went viral. It succeeded, or at least it rose to prominence precisely because the product failed. But the story was fascinating. And that was the heart of it, a good story. So what if you explored that aspect? Could marketing campaigns be used as a platform for spectacular storytelling? Maybe your ArtUp is an insane marketing campaign. And the same goes for user interface and experience, UI, UX. We hear a lot of warnings about how smart technology is used as a form of mind control to get us hooked on using it, right? But what if, as an artist, you actually do want to use your interface to manipulate your users? What if you want to hack their brain in order to make a point? Now, obviously, we also explore the moral boundaries of these approaches. But regardless, this is part of what we mean when we say that as participant, you should be willing to experiment with becoming the thing you hate. Yeah.
But from what you've described so far, are these projects actually intended as businesses? Do you actually expect ArtUps to make it in the market?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. And the answer really depends on your definition of success. And this also leads up nicely to week number 5. It will be called, actually, I don't know if we have a title for it, but okay. Okay, so our website is called We Make Money Art for a reason. And in week 5, we will really put the money in money art. This is a week that will all be dedicated to the startup concept of the exit strategy. To simplify it, an exit strategy is the way a startup plans to make money, a lot more money than was initially put into it. But since our focus is on the art, we're wondering, what if the art of the exit really was an art form? So for that, we would be asking things like, how can an ArtUp make money? And does it have to? Is the exit necessary as a goal for a project to be considered an ArtUp? What if a project just comments on the exit concept? What if it even goes against it? What if it sabotages it? Is it still an ArtUp? Yeah?
Yeah, I guess I see what you mean. So basically are not expecting one particular end result. It could end up in many ways. But still, how do you imagine things will conclude, at least in the program?
Yeah, so we are indeed planning a final event after the escalator is over. And in this event, our participants will have a chance to present their diverse projects. But these presentations too should be consistent with the logic of the project. And that's why leading up to the final event, the last week of the program will all be dedicated to the question, how to pitch. So our main goal is to avoid ending up with a bunch of conventional elevator pitches. And to do so, we will draw upon knowledge coming anywhere from business coaching, theater, and the field of lecture performance. It would be up to our presenters to decide how far they want to take it, but we expect them to indeed test the boundaries of the format. A pitch for the final event would probably demonstrate radical results of a better product, for instance, but at the same time, the entire presentation, or even the entire ArtUp, it could be conceptualized as a theater piece that subverts the investor's pitch format. So imagine the final event being somewhere between a demo day and a conference-based art event, more or less. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Gabriel. But maybe to conclude, could you explain who is this program intended for exactly?
Of course. So the ideal participants would be artists as well as non-artists and other critical thinkers who work individually or in groups in the spaces between art, design, and programming. On a more personal, aspirational level, you could say that the escalator is a proposal for artists to challenge themselves and rethink their practice in the sense that they will be asked to re-envision themselves as artist entrepreneurs.
Okay, great. Well, actually, these closing remarks are a perfect segue to the next part. Soon I will open the floor for questions, but before that, I would like to update you on what's next on our schedule. The ArtUp Escalator program begins in September. In the next 3 weeks, we will issue an open call for participants and projects. After that, we will have a meetup dedicated to information and questions to those who wish to apply for the program. But we also have events planned for the next 2 months. Before the official program starts in September, in July and August, we will host 2 panels with guest speakers talking about their practice in the context of ArtUpism. So for updates, please sign up on our website, weMakeMoney.art, or follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, ArtUp Escalator. So for now, for the questions part, to those who are here at Zoom with us with video, you may raise your hand. To those who are not with video, you can either open the video or use the emoji sign or write in the chat. To those who are watching us live, you can write your comment there and we'll try to pick up the question as well. So the floor is open. You have?
I see Lonnie.
Hey, yeah, that's it. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Great. Thanks, everybody. That was really lots of interesting stuff to think about. And I guess I have 2 questions. And the first, it came up in the beginning, I guess, when Sila started to speak, but I think maybe for all of you is what, like, how do you see the art getting maintained in these projects? How do you, I guess, and maybe I'm asking that because I hear about thinking of incorporating and utilizing and learning all these business tools and what's still art about it by the end, and how do you maybe maintain the art is the 2 general question, I guess.
Okay, I think I'll pick up on that one. So I can speak from the experience of Shmoogle. So Shmoogle is basically the same as it was when it was in museums. The main transformation it did is to find use values. Where is the actual value of daily usage? What does the spectator becoming user get out of the practical, pragmatic value that the spectator, the user, gets out of seeing things differently? So it maintained its initial artistic standpoint, but it is now finding the way to integrate everyday life of users. Does that make some sense?
Yeah, I guess I also imagine that from hearing you all speak that it's probably a bigger range of projects, and maybe I didn't understand the program, but it seemed like you're also asking people to start new projects. So I don't know, maybe, yeah, I guess maybe I'm wondering how much certain projects are, like how it could be problematic to think about the use too much from the start is maybe one way of asking it, but also any response, I'm sure, like anytime you ask what makes something art, I'm sure it's going to be hard to answer if possible at all.
Yoav, I think you raised your hand first and then Gozda, maybe.
Yes, maybe one way to answer this question is that this is the responsibility of the founders. When Brin and Page established Google, they said it was different from any other high-tech company in the fact that this is a company run by engineers. So, and from an engineering perspective, and they claim that they will do no harm, but or will do no evil, but in the end they figured out they do evil, so they changed their slogan. So what I'm saying is that an ArtUp is an high-tech company run from the perspective of artists. So it's up to the artists that run it to maintain the artistic aspect of the company for its entire life. This is one way to answer them.
So I wanted to give this comment, like art actually is at play in the very inception of the idea, ArtUp idea. So it's actually, so ArtUps define something in the market that is problematic, that is that can be both talked about in the gallery and the museum, but also in the market. But ArtUps defining this problem and making it into a thing, that's where the magic is somehow. And then the industry knowledge comes in. And then as an artist, as a creative, you recognize the playground, the playfield, the rules, so that you can actually move accordingly, be like really swifty about your artistic moves. And I think Gabby can answer this quite well, because we also defined ArtUps in 3 different titles, let's say. Yeah, how ArtUps talk about how problematize ArtUp, how ArtUps problematize the situation, the lack that they feel in the market.
Yeah, I actually, while you were talking, Gozda, I thought, great moment to jump in because I am completely following your train of thought. Maybe the most important thing to remember is that art always reacts. It always uses some kind of platform. You could call this reaction an intervention. You call it, I don't know, producing some kind of content to an existing format. You can call it creating a new world. It really depends on how you define creativity. With startupism, there were always creatives involved. The problem was that the pyramid started from a business entrepreneur on top who went to business school, probably working with a bunch of researchers in a lab, techies, engineers who came up with some kind of a technological idea. And then they would invite the designer in the end. And then they would invite the artist to play around with it a bit to find out what it could do. This is very similar to what you have, what you have in artistic research and in more engineer-based type of approaches. But what if you tipped it over its head? What if you put the artist on top? So the artist would use the platform of the ArtUp, just like he or she uses any platform, conceptualize some kind of subversive reaction, for instance, subversion is one approach, figure out how to do it, and then employ the business people, and then employ other researchers from other disciplines that this artist is less acquainted with to realize this project. This is basically, at the end of the day, it's just art. It just it hacks the startup form. And regarding what Gozda said about various approaches to artupism, this also again relates to the question of what you want to do with it. So you could be an artupist who is interested, like for instance, Shmuel, to make it in the market, to make an exit, to actually, gain profits from it. And then your approach would be one kind, and then also what you're describing, this, striking the middle ground, not jeopardizing your integrity, your artistic integrity in favor of profit becomes important. But you could also be an artupist who's not really interested in that. You actually want to sabotage the exit. Like, for instance, there have been ArtUps, or we call them ArtUps, we define them as proto-ArtUps, in which artistic collectives burned £1 million and made a ceremony out of that. And that was the move. Or you could actually look at all of this as one more platform in order to narrate, in order to tell an interesting story, which is also another formula. You talk about how you burned your £1 million. You talk about how you sabotaged your own exit. So these are three facets, more or less. I mean, I hope you got a pretty extensive answer from all four of us. Goes there. Just unmute yourself, I guess.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something to what Deloni asked. I mean, the concern is very valid, and I can see that. But that's why I think that this is as a pushback. This is like a occupying movement from the art side to the market, whereas it was always the other way around. The market, the industry seeping in to the arts and somehow exploiting and using it. This is like us moving to that side, learning their ways.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe following up on Gozda, maybe we can reverse the question and let's ask, what if art changes the market? What happens then? So this is one of the questions that we wish to raise. I don't have an answer for that, but maybe you can reflect on it.
I think maybe let's have people a few moments to think about it, and maybe you can bring a question from the chat in the meanwhile.
There's no questions in the chat, but someone wrote when I shared it in my account, which kind of projects do we envision that we'll be getting?
All right, I think that's a nice question, and maybe I will try to answer it quickly. I think that there are many different kinds of ArtUps I can not imagine yet, and these are the kind of projects I'm looking for. And I know it doesn't mean a lot, but regarding to examples that Tila and Gabi mentioned, it opens up the floor to many, many things. Yes, Tila. You are muted.
Okay, thanks. It's like asking a regular accelerator what kind of projects, what kind of startup ideas are you looking for? Well, while there are different domains, there's fintech and there's medtech and there's AI and there's mobility and whatnot. So we are looking for, we'll not say art tech because this is something different, but the floor is open, and what we can tell is that we will examine each proposal both on its artistic and let's say, and market transformation potential, and making sure that, that the market transformation can can guarantee maintaining the artistic aspect while finding, let's say, use value. So it is the range, it's a broad range, but these are the two main axes along which we will examine the projects.
All right. I think this is last call for questions, and if not, we will finish the meetup. Or many last comments from the members of the ArtUp Nation?
I think Benjamin raised his hand.
Who?
Benjamin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Hi, everyone. Yeah, I'm sorry I couldn't catch the very beginning of the talk, so I got in midway. I am a performer, and I think I completely understand the point and the goal. Yet, from a performance point of view, performance is always dealing with how to keep traces of performances, and these are often kind of weak ways to make an artwork after the artwork has been done. And I think this might be something to take into account here, because if an ArtUp goes very fast and doesn't make any profit and just burns its own energy, then what's left of it? And that's like how to archive it. Do you have any idea about that? That's one aspect. And then all that was said about the acceleration and stuff made me think, maybe you mentioned it in the talk, but accelerationism, anyone? You mentioned it maybe. So that's an interesting question, because then are you intending to make a escalatorism manifesto, or, you know, this is again another dimension of the project I guess you might already be working on. And the point of all this is the current condition of the artist. I mean, that's how you started everything, and that's the main thing in everything I read and heard about this. And so you're starting from the current condition of the artist, which is quite miserable these days, and talking about disruption and so on. But about disruption, it's often associated with Uberization. And I think, I mean, for me, I guess for you too, it's not exactly the same thing. Disruption is still something positive, while Uberization is something that makes the workers weaker in all kinds of ways. So my second question was this, like, it's not about guaranteeing this, but how to stabilize the pyramid inversion that you were talking about. That's my stuff.
I can answer very briefly about some parts. So about the how to measure an ArtUp's success or ArtUp's what it leaves behind, because as a performer or performance creator, because you don't create a commodity, not an object, it's really hard to maintain or like define certain things. One of the important things for an ArtUp is that in the beginning of it, it defines its relation to success and profit. So the goal of the ArtUp is never, not necessarily always the making money or being remembered. It could also be just creating a PR, creating some kind of a wave of something, like it could even be an ideology, if you can think of it. Like artistic movement is also can be defined as an ArtUp. And what was the second question again? I also had an answer for that.
Okay. The second question was about how to make sure that the pyramid inversion of putting the business after the creation, the art of creation of the concept, how to stabilize this and how to make sure basically that the businessmen don't take over your ArtUp.
Again, another key points about ArtUp or ArtUpism is that the project ArtUp is self-reflective in every step of the way. And the artistic integrity and ethical consistency of the idea defines your every move in the business. You have to make decisions in the business, and obviously if you want to scale your project up, if you want to scale up as an idea, and to ensure this humaneness of it, the realness of the idea, you have to take a wait every step of the way, say, okay, is this move inconsistent with my idea as an artist? So this way, you ensure to keep your integrity, artistic and ethical integrity in every step of the way.
Regarding the performance aspect, and I was thinking the other day about our move in the context of drag performance, and maybe it also relates to Lonnie's question, what happens if we go far enough? What do we lose? But take an example of RuPaul. He always in character, he never breaks it, but he can't become a woman, right? So it's always an art performance, and no matter how far he goes, he is never the thing that he mimics. So in a way, I think this is part of what we are doing, sort of a performance act about a company, but maybe some will go far enough, maybe Tzila do go, and I don't know how it affects the artistic questions, it's in the eye of the beholder, but I suggest that you look at it through this lens.
I want to take up on what you said, Benjamin, on that it came out of the working conditions of the artist, and this is not the only thing. It came out also on the condition of the market, and the way we see the market is monopolized by the big four, the big tech, and the big tech are defining the way technology is perceived, the way we interact with technology, how far technology is integrated into our lives, and what kind of interaction do we have with technology. And this impacts every aspect of our being. And we want to open it up. We simply want to open up the way we perceive technology and where technology should go, where all these consumer platforms should go. So we're definitely not looking into another Uberization platform, not an Uberization of art. This is absolutely not what we want to do. We do want to, let's say, deflect the way that the technology market, the direction the technology market is going, and maybe, hopefully, manage to point it in some other position. Open up our technological, our algorithmic imagination. How can we imagine disruption in not just another algorithm, redoing a Rembrandt or finishing the unfinished symphony? Maybe it can be used, it can be put to better use. So it comes from both places, conditions of the artist and condition of the market.
Thank you, Tzila. Gabby, I see you want to add something.
Yeah. So regarding the question about acceleration, which you asked whether or not it came up, there is a reason why we call this an escalator and not an accelerator, because acceleration is a little bit of a neutral term. It sounds very technical, whereas escalation, there's some kind of a pejorative understanding of it. Things that escalate usually don't escalate to a good place. So by doing that, what we're doing is actually calling attention to what happens when things accelerate in the market, or the implicit ideology of the market and where it is leading. You could say that escalation is a reflective approach to acceleration to some extent. There are also different movements of acceleration. There's the movement from the right and there's the movement from the left. Yeah. And what art's role in it should be, to what extent it should be an ethical role, or to what extent it could actually be an accentuation, a highlighter of where these things can go, and let's say, yeah, to ponder on the implications. I think this is the role of art. I'm not necessarily a fan of moralistic art, but definitely I think art can raise moral questions, which business doesn't necessarily do unless it is confronted with them. And the second question that you had, or actually it was the first one, about performance and about defining the framework. And to be honest, I don't remember exactly how you phrased your question, but I can tell you that my interest in artupism is as a performer. And what I like so much about the concept of artupism is that it redefines the very question of the stage. What is a stage when I am engaging in some kind of a business endeavor? I'll give you an example. Right now we're in charge of a community which gives workshops. We give workshops to very notable institutes. For instance, the Goethe Institute hosted us for a very long workshop, and these workshops actually bear very educational content. At the same time, we use these platforms to perform, to tell fictional stories. What of what we're saying is actually true and what is made up? How do we actually take this platform, which is usually very standard for a very particular type of content, and warp it into something which might have some kind of an artistic value? These are things that when you are confined to the space of the gallery, on one hand, it preserves the context. It's very clear. Right now I'm doing an art piece, so everybody understands that how to approach it. And maybe when I try something artistically while hacking an environment that doesn't expect it, it could be more challenging, but on the other hand, it makes it a lot less boring. And I think artupism for performers is also an invitation to explore new stages and new contexts for performativity, to rethink to what extent performativity can go, because performance studies looks at everything as performance, right? Anything from the operational to the theatrical. But a performing artist usually sticks with the theatrical, sticks with a very concrete setting because they work within the realm of contemporary art. What if you could move it into, you know, the other areas, the other sectors where other types of performativity actually take place, and react to that live in action, not just by emulating it, but actually doing it, performing it, the thing itself.
We are about to finish soon, but there is actually many questions in the question Benjamin asked also regarding our cave, and this is a very interesting question, but I'd like to open the floor maybe to one other more question, and maybe you and I can talk later on. So maybe just a few last comments. Tila, maybe you want to jump in, or someone for the audience wants to share a last question?
Yeah, well, let's start wrapping up. I think we've used our hour quite well. So the following, what will happen is that we are going to have a couple of more meetings where we go maybe into more details about the program. And by the end of July or early August, we will publish our issue our call for proposals. And the goal is to open the program itself, 6 weeks, pretty intense, 2 times a week, 1 day, 2 meetings per week. One meeting is about the tools themselves, the industry tools with mentors from the industry, let's say public relations, business plan, etc. And the other meeting will be dedicated to dissecting the tools that we have acquired in the first meeting, see how it fits to the specific project at hand, and analyze it critically and artistically from our point of view. See how we can divert it or make it go wild. And it will, as we progress, it will accumulate in demo day. Does not have to be technological. It can be, does not have to be, but the idea has to be well formed and has to be simply explained. And what we aim is that the projects who will get to the, let's say, finish line, we'll be able to take the project further to, let's say, a more an industry industry accelerator in order to make this thing grow. We want to help projects find a place, find their use value, if they wish to have a use value. And of course, we also want to help projects position themselves within vis-a-vis the market, whether they do not want to pursue an exit or they do want to. So it is pretty broad, but I think so far it is pretty okay defined. And yeah, there's a lot of work, but it's super, super interesting and extremely challenging.
Thank you, Tila. So before saying goodbye, I would like to thank all of you for joining us and hopefully see you in our next meetup. And follow us for any updates on wemakemoney.art, on our Facebook page, Instagram, LinkedIn. Look for ArtUp Escalator. And last but not least, I would like to thank the members of my art family, Gabriel, Gozde, Yoav, and Sila. You're the people that I love to do the thing I hate to do and disrupt the market and reinvent it and many, many more other things. So, yeah. So we are the ArtUp Nation movement. And yeah, we make money.art. Come see us there.
And there's an after party at Drake's. Drake's having
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're all rolling in that. You know?
Yeah, sure.
So goodbye, everyone. Thank you again.
Bye.